Hello you beautiful people. Today we're back with another 5 buy low trade targets video. So as I'm recording this, it's currently week 10 of the NBA season, and as always, these are 5 guys I'd recommend trading for this week, just because I think you'll be able to get them for cheaper than you normally would. So before we begin, feel free to like and subscribe if you want to. We're on the grind to 1,000 subs, and I really appreciate the support I've been getting on all the videos. And also I have a Discord for the non-casual fantasy players, so that link is going to be in the description. It's really great if you want trade advice, waiver wire advice, or if you just want to talk about NBA stuff. I definitely recommend that, and yeah, let's just jump right into the video. So if you're new to the channel, we always start with the player in the thumbnail, and this week it's going to be Jaylen Brown. So Jaylen Brown has been a really consistent performer all season, and it seems like recently his production has taken a bit of a dip since Kemba returned, but honestly, I'm not too worried about him. I think he's going to bounce back. If you look at the Celtics games, pretty much Jaylen, Jason, and Kemba are just getting a lot of open looks, and recently Jaylen just hasn't been knocking them down. Like, he's still taking like 20 shots a game, he's getting open looks, and he occasionally even has those games where he kind of just racks up a lot of assists as well. So yeah, I would definitely try to trade for Jaylen Brown. A lot of fantasy managers are panicking with him right now, and I think the Celtics are going to figure it out. I mean, they are a really good team. I mean, and I'm a biased-ass Celtics fan, but anyway. But yeah, I think Jaylen Brown is a great buy low trade target, and yeah, I'd definitely try to trade for him if you could. I mean, it's not going to cost you a lot right now just because like managers are panicking. I've seen a lot of people offering him for Shea, and I think that's a great trade if you can get Shea, but I'd also think that you could trade for Jaylen Brown if someone else has them on their team. So yeah, I definitely look into that, and with that being said, we're just going to go ahead and move on to the next player. So next up is Marant, and he honestly has not looked the same since he came back from his injury as he did at the start of the season, but I mean, it was a pretty severe ankle sprain, so like it's going to take time to recover from that sort of thing. I feel like his usage rate is too high, he's too smart of a decision maker, and he's honestly just too good of a player to keep this level of production that he's at right now. Like, it's bound to increase just like it was looking at like at the start of the season. Like, he was going nuts. So yeah, I think it's a good time to trade for him just before he gets back into the groove of things and starts to readjust his game. I mean, the Grizzlies offense is kind of like completely centered around him. He's like their point guard, obviously. He's like facilitating their entire offense. Really great source of assists. And once his scoring numbers start to increase again, he's just going to be a really great player. I mean, the only knock against him for a fantasy perspective is like the turnovers, and also he doesn't have a great rebounding rate, but he sort of makes up for that with his elite assist rate, and also just, yeah, the usage is just very nice to have on your team. You always want to have high usage guys because lots of opportunities for fantasy points. So yeah, definitely try to trade for Marant this week as I consider him a great buy low target. So next up is actually one of my favorite fantasy players, and it's going to be Khris Middleton. So Middleton is just like the most perfect source of like efficient scoring. Like, he was almost in the 50-40-90 club last season. He's currently in the 50-40-90 club for this season, I believe. And yeah, I mean, he's like the number 2 guy on the Bucks team. I don't know why he's been having a cold stretch. I mean, it happens to the best of players. And honestly, especially with Jrue Holiday being out, I would think that his production would take a leap, but that unfortunately just didn't happen. But with that being said, I am not at all worried about him. He has just been such a reliable performer over the past few seasons. I mean, he's always going to score the ball efficiently. His passing has improved, his playmaking's got a lot better this year, and he also grabs the occasional rebound. So Khris Middleton is just a really solid performer, and I wouldn't panic just because he's had a few bad weeks now. Like, not even weeks, it was like a few games even, honestly. So yeah, I think a lot of managers are trying to move him right now, but like, I could almost guarantee that his production is going to stabilize and go back to what it was looking like before he had this cold streak. So yeah, Khris Middleton is always a good buy low target whenever he has a cold streak, because he always just seems to bounce back to the old consistent form that he's shown. And yeah, that's going to do it for Khris Middleton, and let's move on to the next player. And next up is someone that I wouldn't say is exactly as consistent as Khris Middleton, but due to the depletion on the Detroit Pistons roster, Jerami Grant is just like a must roster player. Like, he's pretty much the only one on their team that I would like consistently trust to be able to get a bucket. So I mean, yeah, I mean, he has had a few occasional duds here and there, and that's just kind of a risk you're gonna have to take with Grant. But overall, I think he's a really solid fantasy performer. He's just getting so many looks on Detroit, like, it's just insane. Like, their entire offense is sort of running through him. He's getting a lot of isolations and everything. So while there might be the occasional dud, I think overall he's a positive contributor for the fantasy format. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just his scoring, but when you're taking as many shots as he is, like, you're gonna have those games where he just goes crazy. So yeah, I think a lot of managers, I think it's kind of similar with Jaylen Brown as it is with Jerami Grant in terms of like managers are panicking with them just because of a few bad games. But overall, I think Jerami Grant has shown enough of a sample size for me to trust that his being a number 1 option on the Pistons can work out for a fantasy format. So yeah, definitely try to pick up Jerami Grant. I think it won't cost you too much right now, just because, like I mentioned in a previous video, when a player like all of a sudden becomes good, people are like hesitant to trust it. But I think it's been enough games into the season now that you can trust Jeremy Grant's output, and yeah, let's just move ahead to the final player of our video. So if you made it this far into the video and you haven't joined the Discord yet, then like, I don't know what you're doing, man, because you're definitely not a casual fantasy player, and the Discord could really use someone like you. We're always about like sharing opinions, giving advice in there, and you probably know what you're talking about, so I definitely recommend joining, just helping other people out, and yeah, it's just a really great community. But we're actually going to go ahead and finish the video off with John Collins, and he's a player that, like, honestly, I'm a really big fan of in real life, just because, like, I know he's not worth a max contract, and I would just love if the Celtics picked up John Collins. Honestly, I think he'd be a great piece, but for some reason the Hawks are dead set against playing him. I mean, they've pretty much constructed their lineup as if he's the odd man out, but that honestly hasn't really slowed down his fantasy production. I mean, he's been great this year. He's got a good rebounding rate. Him and Clint Capella pretty much just grab every single rebound on the Hawks. He's a good scorer. He's a good three-point shooter. And yeah, he's just an overall nice source of production for a fantasy format. I mean, you can't really ask for much more. He's had a few bad games recently, and by few, I mean literally 2 bad games. So some people are quick enough to try to trade him just because of the trade rumors, but I'm confident that no matter where John Collins gets traded, I don't think his numbers are going to change that much, because it's not like he's going to be going to a title contender. So yeah, I think he's going to sum up the video for 5 buy low trade targets. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I hope you all have a great day.